Good morning, and as we look at our lesson today, the great Greek philosopher Socrates is quoted by his equally great disciple Plato as saying, "The unexamined life is not worth living." To simply go through life helter-skelter, here and there, not really having any type of underpinning foundation, not really caring about too much of anything other than self. Socrates looked at that type of a life and said there's something wrong with people who just don't examine what life is and try to figure out why in the world are we here. Now, lots of times philosophy does not agree with the Bible. They stand in direct opposition, but here's one place where the two stand in agreement. And we see that in the statement that Jesus makes in Matthew chapter 16 and verse 26. "For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" Those were the words of Jesus Christ. And what Jesus is saying to the people who are listening and to us today, examine your life. Examine what you really think is real and true and valuable so that you do not miss out on what is coming next. So in these two questions, Jesus calls on each individual to examine his or her reason for existence, what that existence means now, but also what it means in eternity, in their eternal existence. See, before we can really discuss that, we need to define some terms. What is it that Jesus is talking about when he says, talks about the soul? What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? What's he talking about with this soul? Well, it's the higher life, that part of man which distinguishes him from the beasts, from animals, from the animal world. That which will survive the ordeal of death. Now, think of it in these terms. When God created man, he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. One of the things that people discuss is, well, does man have a soul, or is man a soul? And I think you can see from what God did in the beginning, with the breath breathed into Adam's nostrils, he becomes a living soul. And it's so important for us to understand that because we've got parts of our bodies. We've got members of our bodies. And, if somebody has an accident and loses a finger, somebody has an accident and loses a toe, it may not seem like that big of a deal because, oh, I lost my toe, but life goes on. Everything's kind of okay. But it's not like that with the soul, because we are a soul. It is the soul, it is the spirit that animates us, that makes us alive and makes us in the image of God. James says that the body without the spirit is dead. But that spirit is that soul. It's our very essence. It's us. And we are just trapped in this body. I say trapped in this body. We're contained in this body. But everything about us that is us, that is real, that God looks at and values tremendously, is that part of us that when it's gone from the body goes to the grave, the body disintegrates. It's the soul that God takes on for that temporary period, the Hadean realm, until Christ comes again. Puts that spirit, that soul back in the body, and it becomes alive. That is the essence of us as individuals. It's the essence that God has placed in us. So We need to say, I am a soul. Not that I have a soul. If I have a soul and lose it, well, what's the big deal? But the thing, we are a soul. If we lose our soul, we lose us. We lose. I lose me. You lose you if we lose our soul. But Jesus, in making this comparison, notice there are terms here that are financial terms or business terms for, oh, what shall it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? So, you have profit and gain and loss. Jesus is trying to put this in terms that people will understand on an everyday basis. And what he's saying is that the soul has value. It may not have value to you and me. It may not have value to our neighbors, but it has value to God. What is that value? Well, Matthew chapter 5, verses 29 and 30, it is more value than any member of the body. Jesus said, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out. Throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into the hell of fire. Verse 30. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Same reasoning. It's better that you lose one of your members than that the whole body enter hell. Those are Jesus' words. He's trying to get our attention. That the sensual feelings, the look of the eye, that brings on the lust of the eye and the lust of the flesh, those things can corrupt us. And we need to do everything that we can to move away from them, keep them out of our lives. I don't think Jesus wants us to resort to plucking out our eyes and cutting off our hands. I don't think he means that literally. But I think he's trying to get our attention to the value of the soul. And in Matthew chapter 10 and verse 28, he says that the soul is more valuable than our whole body. Not just a member like a hand or an eye, the whole body. Do not fear him who can kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Fear him who can kill both body and soul in the fires of hell. We shouldn't worry about what people could do to us. That's not important. What can God do to us? God can destroy us for eternity. Now, not because he wants to. God's not willing that any should perish. God takes no pleasure in the destruction of the wicked. But see, if we value things in this life, like the body, or any material thing, more than we value our relationship with God, then he's going to allow us to spend eternity in the fires of hell. That's just part of that value. From Matthew 16:26, it's more valuable than the whole world. What would you profit if you gained the whole world? We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Your soul is so valuable that Jesus, the Son of God, came to this earth as a human being and died on the cross so that your soul will not be destroyed in the fires of hell for eternity. That's how valuable God believes your soul is. Well, he knows your soul is like that. We've got to come to that same conclusion. We've got to have a unity of mind with Jesus Christ, with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, that we have a valuable soul, and we need to quit selling it out so cheaply. What are the possibilities of the soul? If we are a soul, then what can we as a soul do? Well, think of this. The soul can sin, or it can be righteous. It's got a choice. Your soul, you have a choice whether to sin or to be righteous. To sin or not to sin. That is the question. No, that's not what Shakespeare said. But you can see it coming out here. We make choices. And we make those choices based upon how we value our individual soul. We make choices and how we treat other people and how we value their individual souls. So God is seeing whether we have the same value of ourselves and of others as He has. It can be miserable or it can be happy. The rich man, when he wakes up in torments, he's miserable. Lazarus, he's over in Abraham's bosom. Luke chapter 16 says he's happy. See, misery loves company, doesn't it? We've got this choice whether to be miserable or to be happy. And it doesn't seem that miserable people who are miserable, are never happy. They're never satisfied. And the only happiness that they get out of life is making everybody else around them miserable. So they make their families miserable. And they make other people and other people's families miserable. And on and on. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 6, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied." Not miserable, satisfied, because they're seeking God's righteousness. It can descend into the horrors of hell, or it can ascend to the bliss of heaven. All in the choices that you are making on a day-to-day basis. The value of your soul. Whether it's more important than anything else in this world, or whether you, like the devil, believe that it's of no consequence, of no importance. Well, what's the world? Because what Jesus here is, he's comparing the soul and the world. He's comparing the whole world and the individual soul. And he's showing how that the soul is more valuable than the whole world. But what's he talking about when he makes this comparison? We can find that out in 1 John chapter 2, verse 16. The Apostle John says, "For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh, the desires of the eyes, and the pride in possessions is not from the Father, but is from the world." So if you know somebody who has these desires for the flesh, they sin according to the flesh, whether it be sexual sins or whether it be gluttony or whatever it is, say, that has to do with the flesh, that doesn't come from God. That comes from the world. If it's the desires of the eyes, I see it, I want it, I got to have it, I'll do anything to get it. That doesn't come from God. That comes from this fallen world. Because in this fallen world, see, we don't consider that everything is God's to begin with. And we're just stewards over it. It's got to be mine, it's got to be mine. And that comes in with the pride of possessions, but yet in that pride of possessions, it's look what I've got. I've got all this and you don't have anything. God is blessing me. So that's what the Pharisees believed, and that's what the Pharisees taught. If you were right with God, you had plenty of material possessions. And if you didn't, well, you must be a terrible sinner. That's what the Pharisees taught, but look what Jesus taught. Look what Jesus taught about those who, forsaking the things of this world, had all their needs met and were satisfied. The world of the Apostles' language consists not of the people of the world. See, John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son." There, the context is, the souls that are in the world, the people of the world who need to be saved. But here, John isn't talking about people. He's talking about the things of this world which rival and exclude the love of God. What does that mean? If you love your possessions more than you love God, you're losing God. If you love your position in life, whatever it is, more than you love God, you're losing God. If you love your sin more than you love God, and you'll hold on to that sin, and you'll forsake God, you've lost God. That's what John is bringing to us here in that passage. The world includes all the pleasures, all the wealth, and all the honor the world can give, that the world can give. So this world of the Apostle Paul, or Apostle John, is a life securely set in a fallen world. I live in a fallen world, and I love this fallen world, and I'm competing in this fallen world, and I'm going to get the most out of this fallen world because I don't value my soul enough to see the dangers. If you should gain the whole world, what would be your gain? If you could gain the whole world, if the world was yours, don't we sometimes kind of think of that, if I ruled the world, I'd do that. If I was the leader of the country, I would do this or I would do that. Let's think of it. If you gained the whole world, what would you get? What would you have out of it? Number one, you'd have something that cannot satisfy. It can't satisfy. John chapter 4 and verse 13, Jesus said to the woman at the well in Samaria, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. How many trips do we make to the water fountain? Because we're thirsty. You go out there, one drink won't do it, right? Jesus said he had water to drink of that people wouldn't be thirsty again. They'd be satisfied for eternity. Again, Matthew chapter 5 and verse 6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. There are so many people in this world that are hungry for the things of this world, and you see them out there. They would kill for things of this world. They'd steal for things of this world. And yet they're never satisfied. Because this world cannot satisfy. The rich young ruler gained a dangerous master. Luke chapter 8, verses 18 through 25. You remember the story? The young man comes to Jesus and he says, good master, what must I do to inherit eternal life? You say, wow, he's got something eternal on his mind. What a great young man. And Jesus talks to him for a little bit, and then he says, if you would be perfect, go and sell everything that you have, give the money to the poor, and come and follow me. The young man turned around and walked away sorrowful. He walked away from salvation because his riches were his master. His house was his master. His farm was his master. His car was his master. Oh, no, he didn't have a car. But his possessions mastered him, instead of him mastering his possessions. What do you gain? You gain the whole world? Something that's perishable. You think about that. It's like a man, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, all right? There's this guy who comes driving into his neighbor's driveway in a brand new Dodge pickup, see? And he pulls in there, and he jumps out and he says, what do you think of my new pickup? And he says, well, how much did you pay for that? It was $50,000. Look at that. Did you get a loan for that from the bank? Sure did. He says, that's a shame. What do you mean that's a shame? He said, that's a shame. You owe all that money. You still don't have a truck. So if you would gain the whole world, you're not going to have anything because this world is set for destruction. 1 John chapter 2, verse 17, the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever. This world's passing away. Why in the world would you fight over stuff in this world? Why would you let things in this world keep you away from God? 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 7, it's something you must leave. Naked we came into this world, and naked we will depart. We're not going to take anything with us. My goodness. Life is like that much. In the face of this universe, it's even less in the face of eternity. If you should gain the whole world, what would be your loss? Because there's an old saying, for everything you gain, you must sustain a loss. If you're going to have something, you've got to give something up, right? So think about what Jesus is talking about. Sensual pleasure is gained at the price of purity. Young people, sexual sin destroys you from the inside because it destroys purity. Wealth is gained at the price of honesty, liberality, and sympathy. People who believe that money is everything will do anything for money. Write it down. Keep track of it. You see it in all aspects of life. Honesty goes away. Lie to get wealth. Liberality. Oh no, I'm not giving down there. I got to keep that for myself. Sympathy. Yeah, those poor people, they deserve what they get. See? Yeah, they should be work hard like I do and get all these possessions so that they can be self-sufficient. Isn't it strange? God said He'd rather have the poor than the rich. He said it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go into heaven. You think about that. Fame is gained at the price of conviction. What would you do for fame? What do people do for fame? Hey, isn't it strange now that in Hollywood, the conservatives are the ones in the closet? That's the price to pay for fame, isn't it? No conviction. Well, I can't stand up and say what's right and wrong because somebody might disagree with me or somebody might not like me or somebody might say, you're hateful, you're a bigot, say. But which would you rather have, fame or be right with God? Those are just choices that we have to make. But understand this. When purity, honesty, liberality, sympathy, and conviction are gone, the soul is gone. That person is so corrupted they'll probably never be able to get back in the good graces of God. Remember a man by the name of Esau? Esau was Jacob's twin brother, a fraternal twin. Okay? Mama loved one and Daddy loved the other, so they just fought all the time. But Esau was the oldest one by a few minutes, and he was going to get the double portion. See, that's how they divided up the inheritance. You know, the oldest one gets a double portion, so if there's two, you split by three, and one gets 2/3, the other gets 1/3. But see, his birthright, he cared so little for it that he sold it for a bowl of bean soup. Bean soup. I suggest to you that there are people in this world, and maybe even people in the church, who sold their souls for less than bean soup. The soul, the higher life, must be surrendered if we're going to try to make a conquest of this world. And if you make the conquest, you still don't have any to show for it. If you should gain the whole world, what would be your profit? Oh, we understand about profit, don't we? That profit is you spend this much and you get this much, and what you have left over between what you spent and what you got, then that's profit. So what would you profit? Well, there's some questions that we could ask about that. What would a fish be profited if it should gain all of the seas, all of the waters of the world, and forfeit its gills to get it? Wouldn't be any profit in that, would there? What if a bird was able to gain all of the skies, the atmosphere that we know, just had it all? It was that bird's, but to get back, it forfeited its wings. What would a man be profited if he should gain the whole world and forfeit his eyes? How many television shows have you watched? How many books have you read about situations just like that where somebody made a deal with the devil? That's what the devil was trying to do with Jesus. Jesus, see all the kingdoms of the world? You just bow down and worship me, and I'll give you all the kingdoms of this world. Jesus wouldn't have had to go to the cross, would he? But see, if he'd accepted that, he was sin. And who would have died for him? Who had been sacrificed for his sins? And where would we stand? What should a man gain or be profited if he should gain the whole world and forfeit his eyes, and forfeit his ears, and forfeit his health, and forfeit his soul? A soul that is worth more than the entire body. The Master's first question: what shall a man be profited if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Contemplates man in this present existence. That's contemplating you and me, even right here today, and for every day of our lives in this world. His second question, though, finds man on the barren shores of eternity, having bartered away his soul for the trophies of this world. What shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You forfeited it. You gave it up for this stuff that's now destroyed. And how are you going to get it back? Then what are you going to give in exchange for that you sold out to get everything with? Have nothing. At that point you have nothing. That you can say, God, take this in exchange for my soul. I want my soul back. I want it back. It's this gift. You forfeit it. And in the end, you lose both the price and the purchase. Luke chapter 12, verse 16. Don't forfeit your soul for the things of this world. It's not worth it. Trust in God. Value your soul above everything else. Make every effort to be righteous